Palden sebe lama rinpoche, dage chiwa pende den shula, kadren chempe gone jesunte, kusun tu jing rup sadu sa. Sanje chudang soji chonam la, shanjo padu dane chap soji, tage jin soji pe sunam ji, drola penje sanje drupar sho, sanje chudang soji chonam la, Shanjo padu dane chap soji, tage jin soji pe sunam ji, drola penje sanje drupar sho, sanje chudang soji chonam la, Shanjo padu dane chap soji, tage jin soji pe sunam ji, drola penje sanje drupar sho, semjen tamje deva dang, deve judang dempa jujik, dunga dan dunga ji judang dalwa jujik, Dungal me pe deva dampa dang mindal war jujik, Nyering chak dang dang dal ve tonyom jempola nepa jujik, Semchen tamje deva dang deve judang dempa jujik, Dunga dan dunga ji judang dalwa jujik, Dungal me pe deva dampa dang mindal war jujik, Nyering chadang dang dal ve tonyom jempola nepa jujik. Ning to chamber fire len mantra, Lord chamber chukun denisik, Drupa chamber chamdra chiyantan, Lord sa chamber shabla solvandip, Nutu chamber kunda seneche, Kaje chamber lama nyepache, Sundru chamber drupe jasenso, Repa chamber shabla solvande, Tekpa chamber rikcho yongso se, Shaja chamber topang undurjo, Tende chamber kada nyampada, Nigam chamber shabla solvande, Tamba namla gupe saltadu, Drupju tensen chonam shabten ching, Temparinchen chojo jepadang, Tik tengele chamber chapa sho, Jewa kuntu yanda lamadang, Dame chuji pala long chuching, Sadang lamji yanten rab soine, Changi gopang nyotov sho. So good morning, everybody, and I can't really actually see very many of you, but I know you're there. We are getting used to this virtual reality, but it's coming to an end soon, I think, in a good way. But yeah, good to continue the course today. So we will continue grazing. We have been grazing like yaks, grazing like highland cows, slowly taking in the Dharma bit by bit by bit by bit. The idea, of course, is that we should never stop. The way they eat, the way they continue to graze, mouthful by mouthful by mouthful. We should do the same with the Dharma. We should never stop thinking about the Dharma. We should never stop, sort of seeing the Dharma manifesting in all of our day-to-day lives and experiences. We should connect that up with the Dharma. We should always try to meditate and be mindful in our day-to-day life, and sort of, study, contemplation, reflection, and meditation should be part of our life in the same way that the cows and the yaks and all the highland cattle, they keep grazing. I don't know if they ever sleep. They're always there on the hills, taking it in, getting little bite by bite. So that's how we should do, and we'll continue today with this Dorje Changtungma. Last time we looked at the verse about renunciation. We always hear about renunciation. We always hear about the four thoughts. We always hear about the foundations. Now, what we really need to understand in the core of our being is how essential that is, and what it really means is turning our mind, as Gampopa says, turning our mind towards the Dharma. That is what assimilating these four thoughts does. It turns our mind away from samsara and towards the Dharma. And without that, of course, we won't have any progress. It is so essential that we really assimilate the meaning of impermanence, the meaning of cause and effect. What does renunciation and weariness with samsara really means? As Benga Jampa Sangpo says here, that we need to be so uninvolved, but what it means, we need to stop believing that within all this continuous cycling and running and chasing, that we can find true happiness. What the basic teaching are telling us, that within that whole process, if we continue to chase and be caught up in attachment and aversion, chasing after the things we want, running away from the things we don't want, it's a bit like taking bad medicine. We take something that we think is going to work for us. We take something, we eat medicine that we think this is going to make us better, this is going to make us happy. But basically it makes us more and more sick. So that's what the teachings are telling us. We should stop eating bad medicine, or medicine that's bad for us, wrong kind of medicine. It only makes us feel worse. And instead, we should apply real, what these thoughts of renunciation should help us to do is to engage in activities that genuinely are helpful for us, genuinely will bring us or keep us on the right path, keep us in the right direction, stop us straying in all these different sidetracks that are potentially there. And so it means that we should diligently try to apply ourselves in 3 areas, it says, in working with our negative emotions, trying to continuously be aware of when attachment pops up, when anger and resentment and negativity pops up, when the mind is just sluggish and dull and lack of clarity is there. And we should be diligent in applying ourselves to that and bring ourselves back to what is really meaningful. And then we should be diligent in the second area, which is of accumulation of merit, doing positive things, applying ourselves positively, body, speech, and mind, rather than, going down those side tracks and getting caught up in negativity, whether it is through our way of thinking, depressed thoughts, angry thoughts, negative projections about ourselves and others, however that expresses itself. Instead, we should apply ourselves to positive thinking, positive action, positive speech, be sort of aware and diligent in that area. Third thing it says is we should be diligent in applying ourselves to benefiting beings, to the best of our ability. That may not be a huge thing that we can do to benefit others, but so first of all, within beings, I am included within all sentient beings, so we can benefit ourselves, we can work on ourselves and try and do what is really helpful and what will really be long-term beneficial also for others. So meditate, train, practice, do both in very practical things and in deeper things and vaster things. We should try and do what benefits ourselves and benefits all sentient beings. These are the three areas that, in a simple way, we could say that's how, when we have, or as we are assimilating these four thoughts and this renunciation, this way of thinking, of turning our mind towards the Dharma, this is how we can practically apply ourselves. We need to put things into action. It's a very active path, isn't it, Buddhism? It is not just sitting on our meditation cushion. We have to be active. We have to apply ourselves in as many ways as we possibly can. So this is the main thing that this is maybe putting it very simply, but this is the previous verse we had. So now we go on today to the next verse that Menka Jampa Sangpo talks about in this Doha. So let me read that for you. It says, devotion is taught to be the head of meditation. Thus the true meditator constantly prays to his Guru, the one who opens the door to the treasure of the essential instructions. Grant your blessing that uncontrived faith and devotion may arise in them. So may arise in the students. May all the students, all the true meditators who constantly pray to their gurus, and the Guru opens the door to this treasure of instructions, may uncontrived devotion arise in all of us. So the previous verse was about the feet, right? The feet of meditation. Now it says devotion is the head of meditation. So the feet is, we have the sense of movement. We are walking towards our goal. We are on the path. We're entering the path. Now with the head, we could say the head is our, in some sense, our most treasured part of our body. Our head contains all of our five senses, right? Sight and sound and touch and smell, taste. We carry it very high. And so something we carry very high, we see it as like, it's certainly an important part of our body, but when we say, we think of something with respect, or we bow down, right? We go low and we place something high that we have respect to. We place the Guru above our own head. We imagine the Guru as higher than us, out of respect. So it signifies that Mögu in Tibetan is called Mögu. Devotion is translated as devotion. It's Mögu, it's a Tibetan word, is made up of two words, Möpa and Gypa. Möpa means aspiration or longing, and Gypa means respect. So this, when we say Mögu Gomji Go Sungpa Shin, means like this aspiration, longing, respect and faith. So it has a very active aspect to it. It's not just a feeling, it's something that is applied. So in the Kagyu tradition, there's great emphasis on devotion, right? We've seen that in when we read all the Kagyu lineage masters, their life stories, we see how strong a devotion they had, how strong a dedication they had, and how important that was in what they accomplished. It was a devotion and a faith. So you can have devotion to the three jewels. We need to have devotion to the three jewels, trust in the three jewels, faith in the three jewels. As we start with a sense of trust and faith in the three jewels. We don't necessarily have faith to the Guru from the start. We should not expect to have even a Guru from the start of our path. We haven't met a Guru. We haven't formed a relationship with a Guru. quite often people are confused about that. They read the life stories of Milarepa and they think, oh, I should be like that. Of course, we aren't Milarepa, we aren't Marpa, we aren't Gampopa, and we are total beginners for many, many years, decades, maybe a lifetime. We can see ourselves as a beginner. So it takes a long time to develop a devotion like Milarepa or Marpa or Gampopa or the Karmapas that they had on their path. And we cannot force it, we cannot pretend, we cannot sort of, it has to be genuine. It talks about uncontrived devotion. It means it has to be sincere and pure, genuine devotion. That's something that one cannot contrive. It has to grow first from a simple form of trust in the teachings. That the teachings are something that genuinely speak to us, and we can look at our own mind and see, yeah, this makes sense. Certainly I remember when I first read some of the books, and when I came to Samiling and I had read Trungpa Rinpoche's books like Spiritual Materialism, I thought, this makes so much sense to me. His language, his way of putting it was so direct. Sometimes it depends what speaks to us, what kind of language we need. And for that reason, we have to have all these different languages and all these different translations and 84,000 types of dharmas to sort of speak to all the different types of beings in all the different situations that we are in. But the essence of that language is the same. So these oral instructions, the treasure that we receive through the Dharma is the same. Well, it's different also at different levels of stages of our path. But devotion and respect and trust is needed from the start to some degree, because otherwise we don't step onto the path. We have to have that openness initially to even try out, to even think, well, I'm going to have a look, I'm going to go on a Dharma course, I'm going to go to a Dharma center and check it out, I'm going to receive some teachings, and then observe in ourselves what it really means to us, to myself and my own life. It has to be very direct like that, not blind faith. Buddhism is not talking about blind faith and devotion, so that has to be very clear from the start, that when we begin, our devotion is not like Milarepa's devotion or Tilopa and Naropa's devotion, where Naropa jumped from the roof of the temple and landed and his bones were broken, and Tilopa restored him back to health and life again. We are not in that situation. We should not think that we should be in that situation. We have to be very sensible as beginners. But we do need a simple trust and faith to start with. And then you could say that organically that faith grows as we benefit, so through study, through meditation, contemplation, observing in ourselves, applying ourselves and seeing the benefit that we have, then our trust will grow. Our trust and our faith will grow gradually on the path. That's how it should happen. We should not expect to have sort of see our guru as a Buddha right from the start, or even have a guru right from the start. But what is important is that we do have examples. We have living examples. That's why the guru represents the teacher. The teachers like the Buddha, who lived 2,500 years ago, who is now not accessible to us, so the guru represents the Buddha. And eventually, we may be fortunate enough to have that relationship with a teacher, with a genuine master who will become our guru. But we should just be patient and keep doing our part of this journey, applying ourselves on the journey. But it says the reason, so the Kagyu tradition talks so much about devotion, and why? Why is that? So here it says, the true meditator constantly prays to his guru, who opens the door to the treasure of the essential instructions. These essential instructions is like a treasure. It's like gold. It's like, the most precious thing you could possibly have, right? And the guru passes that on to us as a student. So what it means is that as a student, we have to be an appropriate vessel. We are like a vessel, a container that the guru needs to be able to pass this on to. If there is no container, the guru cannot pass on anything. There's nothing to pass, there's no one to pass it on to. But at the same time, if that container is not suitable, even if the guru tries to pass it on, it may not work. For example, the vessel, the container might break, It says if you pour melted gold into a porcelain container, into a porcelain cup even, or maybe we're a very big container, maybe we're a massive porcelain bowl, but even if we're big, if we are just made of very fragile porcelain and the guru tries to fill it up with melted gold, it's just going to crack. It's going to flow all over the place. It's going to be wasted. So it means that we as a container, as a student, we have to have certain qualities. We have to have some strength to contain all of these teachings. We have to be made of iron, maybe, that doesn't break. But also it says we have to be the right way up, so we can, contain something. We cannot be upside down, a vessel that's upside down. The guru tries to pour into this vessel. Or we cannot also, of course nothing will go into it if it's upside down. We also cannot be at the same level as the guru. The container cannot be at the same level as the, whatever is being poured into it from that other container, one container to another. They have to be at a different level. The one that pours has to be higher than the one that receives. Otherwise, nothing can flow. There's no flow. There's nothing going from one into the other. So that means like humility, being lower. That's what this represents. Being lower is being open and being ready to receive and being able to receive. And that is an open mind, a mind that is full of appreciation and devotion and humility. When we are lower, it's that sense of we appreciate all of the qualities of the guru, and we appreciate the preciousness of what is about to be poured into us. That way we can receive. So for that reason, devotion is important. It is not about placing the guru up on high thrones and bowing like just because this is what is done. It's that inner quality that means that we can actually grow from the teachings. We can actually receive and then assimilate the teachings. If we cannot assimilate the teachings, there's no benefit. It's like having a meal that we can just look at. We cannot eat it. It's like doing window shopping. We can only see all the beautiful things through the glass. We can't even touch them. We can just sort of, oh yes, this. But nothing, there's no direct connection, there's no direct benefit. So devotion has so many benefits for us as a student. It really does not benefit the teacher whatsoever. I would think that it's probably a lot of times there's a lot of nuisance. It gives the teachers, the students give the teachers more problems than anything. There's no direct benefit to the teacher. It is a student who benefits from this devotion. It is a student who becomes in a proper, pure container, free from pride, free from arrogance, pure, upside down, right way up, humble, That way, like if we are strong, if we are firm in our sort of understanding of the Dharma and our appreciation of the Dharma, of our commitment to the Dharma, then we can benefit from what is poured into us. Meaning from what mentally we can absorb and what we then contemplate and assimilate and meditate on, like having that food and getting benefit from the meal. So all of these personal instructions, teachings we receive, all of that is, all the personal advice is the treasure. That all the guidance we receive is this treasure that we receive from all of our teachers, the lineage gurus, the masters, like from the time of the Buddha up until now, from the beginning of the Kagyu lineage up until now. When we say we pray to the Kagyu lineage, all of those masters who have kept the teachings alive for us, and that is why we can now benefit from all that guidance. This is what we are devoted to, and then to our own Buddha nature, to our own potential for change. So there has to be some trust and some level of trust in our own ability to grow and to change and to develop that potential that we have as, being ultimately a Buddha, but that Buddha nature being obscured, and through the practice we can purify and develop all the qualities that are innately there, like in a seed, that with the right causes and conditions can grow and flourish. So we need to have confidence in that inner ability and potential. That's also part of devotion. If we don't have belief in that, then it's just separate from us. We just admire someone, but we don't have confidence in that we can also develop similarly. Then we cannot again receive really that treasure that the Guru has to pass on to us. And then I think compassion is also part of it. Recognizing and understanding the suffering that we all experiencing within samsara. So the faith is based on that, recognizing that process of purification, you could say, of that the process is a path, and that all the lineage masters have been on this path, and all of them went through a process of transformation. That's what we see when we read the life story of Milarepa, of Mapa, of Gampopa, of Tilopa, all of them, all the hardship that they went through. We see that a complete transformation happened. Otherwise, it would just be torture, right? It's not a matter of the Guru is there to torture the students. It's not just a matter of putting up with suffering, being able to put up with suffering. It's a matter of transforming and purifying, meaning that we have to uncover this inner potential. That's the path. All of it is about the mind. The path is about nothing but the mind. Ultimately, everything is about the mind. So we always need to refer the teachings back to our own mind and that process, our own process on the path. This transcendence. If there's no transcendence, there is no path. There's no progression. So sometimes you can say that this transcendence, it's compared like all of the hard work, you can compare to all the hard work that we all know, especially those of you who run centers and who are familiar with when the great lamas come to visit. All of the work that you do when you're cleaning the centers and preparing and publicity, all the different aspects. Just think of when His Holiness Karmapa came to visit, for example. He came to London some years back. All of the preparation that we had here, I still remember all of the preparation when the Sangha were here, and we did a sort of attempt at having a procession with all the banners and all the musical instruments, and even though we had some preparation, actually in when the thing happened itself, it was still a little bit confused. But all of that preparation came down to this very short period when His Holiness was actually here. So there was a huge job involved, and not only here, but also when he came to the big, the big marquee and Battersea Park, and all the people who were busy with preparing that. So what I mean is that the visit itself was quite short, but the preparation and the time for that was large. It's like that. Our path is like that. The path of preparation and transformation and purification comes down to the time of, you could say, introduction to the nature of our mind, where we actually understand, where we actually have that. Maybe it's just could be a short moment of meeting the nature of our own mind. It's like compared to a very important visit. But that is what the purpose is. Seeing the nature of our own mind. That transformation, transcending suffering, all of that is about recognizing the nature of our mind. So we should remember that. And that is what all of the great teachers, all the great masters in the lineage, what they're showing us. And they also show us that the stronger our faith and devotion and our interest in the Dharma, the bigger the result. If we have middling interest, middling sort of engagement, we have less result. If we have only a little bit of interest, if we think the Dharma is just a little bit important to us, that much result is what we're going to get. So what I kind of also wanted to remind you all, and I know that many of you are aware of this, is that we don't need to think only of hundreds of years back. Many of you have been our students of Akong Rinpoche. So all we have to think about is the current teachers, the generation of masters who left Tibet. Look at their lives and see the hardship that they went through. Try to see, like for example, Akong Rinpoche. Look at the kind of life that he had and what it shows us. His devotion to his teachers. If we look at the masters, we can see this is why they accomplished so much. Because they had enormous devotion to their teachers and to the lineage, and dedication to the lineage, and dedication to the Dharma. It wasn't just, one person doing a few things. It was a very vast view of the whole Kagyu lineage, and we know that Akong Rinpoche's motivation was so strong in terms of preserving the Kagyu lineage, preserving the Tibetan language, preserving the Tibetan texts, not just as culture, not just as history, but keeping the Dharma alive. This is what really mattered to him, isn't it? So if we see all the hardship that Akong Rinpoche went through, as a young person in Tibet, starting off running his monastery in Tibet when he was 14, 15 years old, then having to leave everything, having to leave his family, having to leave everything behind, all the people who depended on him, coming to a foreign country, losing everything. And coming to a foreign country where the amount of hardship is sort of unimaginable, I think, to us. We don't really understand what him, as well as so many of these other great masters who came to the West, what they have gone through for our sake, for the sake of the Dharma, for the sake of future generations. for the sake of the Dharma, to keep the Dharma alive. Now that is their devotion. That is the extent of their devotion. That is the power of devotion. That is a devotion to their teachers. They were so committed, they would never let down the Dharma. They would never let down their teachers. We've seen how hard Akong Rinpoche has worked, right? So coming to the West, where nobody understands or understood at that time the Dharma, where nobody had any familiarity. So the gulf must have been so vast in establishing the Dharma and sort of planting the seeds, just planting seeds and knowing that it will take a long time before there is a real crop coming. And to make sure that the Dharma actually stays, that crop doesn't get destroyed by frost, by wind, by bad conditions, that it's strong enough to continue to grow. That is their motivation, that is their devotion. So we don't have to think this is far away, this is ancient, this is Tibetan, this is something else. It's right in our lifetime. We have seen unimaginable devotion and dedication and commitment to the teachings. And this should inspire us in turn. All of us who are students of Akong Rinpoche, we should, be similarly fired up. We should be similarly committed to continue the activity, because we have received so much from the Dharma. We've received so much from our teachers. So we as students of Akong Rinpoche, we've seen what he was willing and able to do. And so, similarly with Lama Yeshe Rinpoche, what he went through, we've read his book and his youth and how he started off in Tibet and then how he went through his rebellious period and how he totally transformed, and his devotion to the 16th Karmapa, his devotion to his own brother, Akong Rinpoche, has made his life a complete example of dedication and commitment, and how he has achieved so much in terms of completing Akong Rinpoche's projects, Holy Island, supporting all of us while Rinpoche has been gone, holding this period after Rinpoche's death. If it had not been for Akong Rinpoche, it is hard to imagine how all of us could have continued. So the strength of Lama Yeshe Rinpoche's devotion and dedication is so clear and so enormous. And so again, we should all be so fired up and saying, I want to support them. I want to do what I can to make this crop continue to grow and to make all the seeds spread even further. All the seeds that Akong Rinpoche initially planted, those seeds, like we know with plants, they grow more fruit and they grow more seeds and they grow more, continuously like that. It should spread and spread and spread and not be destroyed. This is what I think what devotion does to us and what it should do. Just like it has done to them, it should do the same to us in that we want to contribute. We want to make sure that the crop that has been planted does not get destroyed, but instead it grows more and more and more, because it means more and more benefit. It means for future generations. So devotion, it shows us the importance of devotion. The examples, their examples show us the importance of devotion and what one can achieve due to devotion, to renunciation and devotion. It makes you active, right? Even though Milarepa was in caves, we can see the result of Milarepa's activities today. So in all the different ways that these great masters have lived their lives, and we've seen that they've all been very different, but all of them have had huge impact And it's due to their devotion and their commitment and dedication and compassion. So I want to read to you a few things, what you may have read in some quotes from Akong Rinpoche. He says, a compassionate motivation is like the ground. The four ordinary foundations are the seed, and the blessing of the Guru is the water. Without water, the seed will never grow. So he's saying, without the blessings of the Guru, the seed doesn't grow. It's that inspiration has to be there, that direct. It's like what gives the Dharma life. So it says, do not look for good or bad experiences. Everything should be seen as the blessings of the Guru. Whether it is by the kindness of pleasant experiences or the purification of unpleasant experiences, all of it is the kindness of the Guru. All of it becomes part of the path. So he says, sickness, hunger, aggression from others, they should all be seen as an opportunity to purify body and mind through the blessing of the Guru. So he's telling us how, this was advice he gave us in the retreat about devotion. He says, during Guru Yoga, you should surrender completely and pray to the Guru like a child calling out to its mother. So, this is very clear, isn't it? I also wanted to read to you from the Rain of Wisdom, since this is all the dohas of the lineage masters, and the book that is so full of like the examples of the devotion of the great masters. My book is actually falling apart. It's so old now. But this is Chögying Dorje, the 10th Karmapa. So it talks about, here in this Doha, it says, and it's just like a short little verse I'm going to read from you, because here they're talking about how important devotion is. And this is at a time when Chögying Dorje's Guru died. And he says that there was a stupa that was constructed, and many of the great meditators had great devotion from the depths of their heart for the father and the son, meaning for Chögyi Wangchuk and Chögying Dorje, the Guru and the Jetsun. So it says, Chögying Dorje himself felt immeasurable devotion, choked up by the fervor of his faith and the force of his longing. His experience blazed. He found himself for a while as nothing whatsoever, neither this nor that. Afterwards, he wrote this supplication. So then it's quite a long supplication, so I only just read these two verses. It says, by a small connection to merit, this time we have obtained a free and well-favored human birth. This is greater than being a god. Those who exert themselves for the sake of enlightenment obtain it, and it is worthwhile that they do so. I do not know other kinds of chatter. In this life, which is just an impermanent dream, how is there time to do anything else? When genuine devotion is born in his son, this alone pleases the Guru. As he is pleased, from his great cloud of kindness, a rain of blessings continually falls. As this falls, the sprout of devotion grows. And as this grows, the harvest of enlightenment is ripened. As this is ripened, all the old mothers will eat. And eating this, they experience the supreme taste of great bliss. And by its nourishing power, they see their minds completely. Seeing this is also the kindness of the Guru. So Chögying Dorje is explaining really how this whole process of devotion means you have fruition through the blessing of the Gurus and the kindness of the Gurus. This sprout of devotion grows. The sprout is like a seed, a grain that grows, and that grain is ripened, meaning our mind is ripened. We reach enlightenment. We have all the qualities of enlightenment, and due to that, it says all the old mothers will eat, because meaning that it will benefit all sentient beings, because of bodhicitta. Enlightenment is inseparable from bodhicitta. So with enlightenment comes a benefit, comes a nourishment. So this is similar to what Milarepa, how he compared receiving the instructions. In that verse it says, let me just look at the verse again. He says, the one who opens the door to the treasure of the essential instructions, grant you a blessing that uncontrived faith and devotion may arise in them. So this uncontrived devotion and faith, the treasure of the essential instructions. So these essential instructions, menga, this oral transmission, menga in Tibetan, the oral instructions, the advice, all the direct, the things that change our mind. This is the oral instructions. What turns our mind around? What the instructions that enable us to move forward on the path and to transcend our suffering, to change our mind, to give up our negative habits, to sort of take the reins and let go of our negative emotions and instead steer ourselves forward on the path to the goal. This is the menga, this is the oral instructions. So Milarepa compared these oral instructions also to threshing the grain of truth. He says we should be husking the grain of truth, meaning taking off all the hard shell of the grain. All the ignorance need to fall away, just like how you are husking the grain. And then we get to the heart of the teachings through study and through contemplation and through assimilation. We get to the soft part of this, of the grain, of wheat or barley or rice or whatever it is we are husking. We get to that core of the teachings when the hard shell of ignorance falls away through the hard work that we put into getting to that, to this husking. We get to the nourishing part. So he also said we should, when we receive the instructions, we should not just sort of have it assimilated like intellectual knowledge. Dharma is very different in that sense. It is not about getting degrees. It is not about having all the different titles to our name. If it stays as titles, if it stays as intellectual knowledge, we will not benefit. We have not husked the grain. We have not gotten through to that soft part, nourishing part. We must really make the Dharma part of our own experience. That's the only way we will benefit. The only way that we can directly benefit from the teachings is that when it relates to our mind, and we have that personal experience. So we have to take the teachings to heart. And he says we must fill up our, do you call it granary with provisions, our storehouse. We must fill up our storehouse with provisions and grind them with the millstone of practice. So that we know Milarepa was very good at, right? He was very diligent. If ever we have if we've seen or heard of an example of diligence, this is Milarepa. This is how he stands out to in all the lineages. They talk about Milarepa as an example of diligence in practice. He got hard lumps on his bottom from practicing so diligently. So we have to take all these examples to heart, and we must put efforts into these different areas so that we can personally benefit. We can fill up our own storehouse with a provision, with our understanding of the teachings, and use our own millstone in terms of our study and contemplation and assimilation and meditation. That way we get the results from the practice and we gain the qualities. Which is what it's all about. So in terms of this uncontrived devotion, that's also important that it talks about uncontrived devotion. It means it has to be natural. It must come out of that understanding of the teachings. We cannot fake it. We cannot pretend to have devotion. We cannot. It's not enough just to bow down and to, do this or that. Of course, it's good to act appropriately, but ultimately, devotion is a state of mind. So, uncontrived devotion means that it is genuine, sincere, that arises out of this appreciation of the teachings and becoming this right vessel. So it's you could almost say a result of turning our mind in the right direction, turning our mind to the Dharma, meaning we really appreciate the teachings, we appreciate the preciousness of the teachings, and that humbles us. And then strengthening our commitment, making sure that the Dharma is central in our life, so that we can gain that benefit. We become this right vessel, pure, strong, dedicated vessel. Then I also wanted to quote to you the 17th Karmapa about the devotion. So the 17th Karmapa says in the book, Heart Advice from the Karmapa, he says, the degree to which we are able to offer or surrender our body, speech and mind to our Guru, it depends on the amount of confidence we have in ourselves and in our teacher. Milarepa, for example, endured countless difficulties during his time with Marpa. Yet for Milarepa, these experiences were beneficial because he had stable trust in himself and in Marpa. In the end, his trust and confidence became unshakable, and the happiness he achieved due to this trust became unshakable as well. But not everyone can emulate Milarepa's confidence and trust. If we simply have not yet developed stable trust, there's no sense in forcing ourselves to surrender to our teachers out of a blind sense of duty. In the end, what we are able to accomplish in our relationship with our teachers all leads back to trust. So this is the 17th Karmapa saying this, that so trust in the teachings, trust in the three jewels. So in the teachings also means confidence in our own Buddha nature, in our own essence. And based on this trust, then we can grow on the path. So there are many things that we could look at in terms of this verse. We could look at the qualities of the teacher. We could look also at the qualities of the student, which Jamgon Kongtrul talks about in his teachings. There are many teachings on the relationship with the teacher and the student, but we don't really have time to to look at that in great detail here. But what we can just say is that maybe as a conclusion is that we are the ones who benefit. Us as students, we are the ones who benefit from our devotion. Our devotion is not a gift to the teacher that the teacher will benefit from. The reason it pleases the teacher is because we benefit, because he sees, or they see that the student is on the right path. So by becoming a right vessel, we can carry the teachings, of course. And then really what it is, that depends on my own attitude. And I remember once in Carlisle Lane when Akong Rinpoche visited Samye Song, and we had a question and answer session, and I asked him what are the I think he had talked about the qualities of the teacher, and then I asked him what are the qualities of the student? What makes a good student? Because we all want to be good students. It's not easy to be a good student. So he said, a good student, and I think he was half joking, because he said a good student is someone who is reliable. There are three things. It's someone who is reliable, someone who is trustworthy, and then he said, it's someone who is there when you need them and who's not there when you don't need them. And we all burst out laughing, of course, because we've seen, I think it's easy to understand, the teacher should be there at the right time, but should not be all the time clinging to the teacher. All the time it can be a hindrance for the teacher, I think, if the students can also give problems for the teacher, right? So Rinpoche said this, the student should be there at the right time, but should not be there at the wrong time. Don't bother me when it's not necessary. But he said they have to be reliable, they have to be trustworthy. Because if students are not reliable and trustworthy in terms of in relation to the Dharma, there won't be any progress. And of course, as students, mostly we are a mixture of, good and bad. We are a mixture of all of it. But I think we're not perfect. But I think as long as we have trust in the Dharma, trust in our own ability, in our own potential, we are genuinely eager to practice and learn the Dharma, then that is, that's enough. That's what Jamgon Kongtrul says. As long as we're genuinely eager to practice the Dharma and we have some sense of what is right and wrong. Also, he says, if we are not completely overwhelmed by the negative emotions, if a student is so overwhelmed by negative emotions, then they will not be a good student. Then the teacher should not take them on. He actually says that. But generally, we are a mixture of both. So I think we have to leave it there. And we are saying, grant your blessing that uncontrite faith and devotion may arise in me. This is what we should be working towards, having this trust and faith in the Dharma. And eventually, if we don't have a guru now, eventually we will find a guru. We can see also the Karmapa as our guru. And you may know already, I don't know if you are aware, but I believe that His Holiness Karmapa is starting his spring teachings on the 11th of March. The 11th of March till the 12th of April. I haven't actually seen anything up yet about it on, on his website or anywhere, but I'm sure it will become available. I imagine it will be similar to last time. It's 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, one day off, something like that. But so here we will leave it like that and see you next week. and have a really good week ahead. We'll do the dedication. Sunam de tam che se pa ne top ne nye pe danam pam che ne che ga na je ba la tu pa ye se pe so le do wa sho Shanjo semne rinpoche ma che panam je jo chik che pa nyam pa me padang kone kondo pelwa sho ge wa de ye nyo do da sha cha chenpo drup jo ne Doa chik cha ma le pa de ye sa la ke pa